The latest. What's the latest, Coop?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, I know everybody. Well, I don't know everybody has seen the stellar news with the DTCC, but I think last week, I believe last week we talked a little bit about what I believe was going to happen with stable coins and corporations and corporate cash. Um, and I think this week, I think we've seen some of the I think we've seen some of that implemented. Obviously, they're not going to use the terms corporate cash because that would just be crazy. That would just drive people insane if these larger corporations started developing their own stable coins and it started, you know, being used or talked about as corporate cash. But I think that's what's going to happen. And I just think, this week, two things happened where we've seen Stellar and DTCC partnership for tokenization online and, to move currency around. And then we seen SoFi come out with its own stable coin. And SoFi isn't a traditional bank. It's more of a fintech, but a very, very large bank. I've actually been banking with SoFi since they IPO. They were one of the SPAC babies. Um, Chamath Palihapitiya brought um, SoFi live from a SPAC, and I've been with SoFi, ever since. Really good bank. When they first came out, what was really dope about them is they gave you a penny, and I don't know like why it must have started costing them too much, but they gave you a penny every day that you opened your app. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's the fact that your traditional banks aren't giving you anything on your savings or your checking. Like they're charging you more in fees than you're making in interest for your money being there. And there was this new app called SoFi that was just paying you to open your app every day and look at your balance. Like even if you didn't do nothing, they would just pay you to do it. And then there was other things that you could do inside the app to earn rewards, as far as they had some information about stock trading, they had some information about crypto because they had crypto when they originally launched, and then some of the rules changed in America around crypto. And because they were an actual chartered bank, they weren't allowed to have the crypto, so they had to cut their crypto rails off. But they have now cut the crypto rails back on, which now, that indicates that the major banking, JP Morgan, Bank of America, those are the only two I consider major. People keep saying Wells Fargo, and I don't even know how they are still alive. But, those two, we should be seeing some type of crypto trading, or maybe they just don't want to get in a trade. That they obviously are leaning, into Bitcoin. They got the uh, the ETFs that you can get. Their their banking people now allow you to invest in Bitcoin, and so maybe they'll just stay there. SoFi being more of a non-traditional bank, a lot more similar to Coinbase as far as it being, on the tech side. But yeah, I mean, I just think that's going to lead to us seeing some of these other major corporations. Like I see the downside of major corporations like Amazon and Walmart and Meta being able to have their own stable coins. One is just too many. Just be too many stable coins, but also allowing them to keep up with their own flow of money could change the way that they're perceived globally and could be big for America. One of the things that, like, one of the reasons that I even have this thought process with these companies being able to hold their own stable coin is because, when you look back in like the early 2000s, Walmart had actually applied for I think it was called like an ILC loan, or a ILC. It's like a charter. I think it's like industrial loan company or something like that. But it's almost like banking charter. I remember it was out of Utah, and like the goal wasn't like for them to become like a traditional bank. They just wanted to control the process of the payment rails, so they can also like reduce like transactions. So like they didn't want to have to keep dealing with the same thing that they're dealing with now. If they have to return money, it's 1 to 3 business days, and you know, like all of the things that we're still dealing with traditional banks. Them being able to be their own charter, it was going to allow them to skip over a lot of that framework. But that's where the benefit comes in on the consumer side. Obviously, the government are, they're always in court arguing with big tech, and so they don't want the tech companies to get any bigger. But there's also the benefit that when these big tech companies issue stable coins, it has to be pegged to the dollar. So it's really going to support the supremacy of the dollar if they allow them to do it. If they don't do it, they're definitely partnering with stablecoin companies. Whether I believe we'll mostly see USDC, because USDT is not even an American institution. So, but those two stories just seem big. Like people talked about it a little bit. I think it really flew over a lot of people's head. But I think what's flying over a lot of people's head is what we're considering crypto in America now. Like I think about, Trump saying, this will be the crypto capital of America. I'm not saying that that isn't the actual goal. I just think that the actual understanding of what they think crypto is versus what the average crypto fan we've been in crypto a long time. We've been in it since it was the wild, wild west. Now it's legislated. I don't think their perception of crypto is what we think crypto is. And I think that's what we'll see soon. I think we'll see them talk about, stable coins. We'll see them talk about tokenization. We'll see, obviously they talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just a completely different asset. Like the money that is already traded in crypto is large. But I think those two news stories with SoFi and Stellar, I think those were big stories this week. And I'm going to keep, diving into it because also it has a lot to do with the agentic commerce situation as well. Because I read today that Robinhood has it's not on the main net, I don't think. I don't think they put it on main net yet. But Robinhood now has implemented agentic AI. So now they are allowing agentic you to have agentic AI bots actually make buy, sales, and trades for you. And so I think right now they're testing, the bugs and making certain that they could put guardrails around it so you could stop it immediately, and there's several ways to do so. But with SoFi already having a stable coin, they implement, agentic AI. Everybody's going to implement agentic AI eventually. Like all of this is just time process. So we're just seeing, you know, at what time these things get implemented and where we are in the technology cycle when it gets when it gets implemented. Because like that's the important part to like understand. Where are we in a technology cycle? It's like even with blockchain. Blockchain is just software. Like blockchain is really just software. I always bring up like the movie Swordfish. Nobody really, because the movie's so old, nobody really noticed back then he was hacking. He was hacking a blockchain. That's why he kept having to hack all of those individual blocks and then make it one block. But if he messed up in one block, he could mess up the whole configuration. So, but that was blockchain, and I don't, you know, Swordfish came out. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago or so. D better at those things than me.
Yeah,
But
that was like the early 2000s, something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Early.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, with agentic AI, with where technology is right now, like every blockchain is subject to be replaced by a new blockchain. Like Ethereum still hasn't had its Bitcoin moment yet, and Ethereum should be Ethereum is supposed to be the layer where everything operates off of. And hell, Ethereum might not make it. Like at any given time, something like look at where ChatGPT started. Like no one could tell anyone that ChatGPT wasn't going to take 99% of the market share. And Claude is now, you got ChatGPT out here fighting for his life.
Ah, that's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. Claude is like they moving very, very fast for what they're doing. They're moving extremely fast, because what was that thread? What was that thread? Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let's see if I can pull it up. That thread we was looking at the other day about all
Uh,
the AI stuff that happened within a 24-hour span.
oh yeah, yeah. When yeah, when China made that dog collar that can translate uh dog speak with 90% accuracy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, they had a shot that they can give cats to fix their kidneys, and the cats was living 10 years longer.
Yo, crazy. Oh, here's some of the thread I was talking about. Let me share my screen. So here we go. You were just talking about Claude. Claude is Anthropic, right? So this came out the other day. This is what happened the last 24, this was like maybe about 3, 4 days ago, something like that. So Anthropic worth 900 billion. So Anthropic, is closing a $30 billion round, 900 billion next week. So the deal vaults the Claude maker past OpenAI as the world most valuable AI startup. October IPO is targeted. I'm just saying. And
Yeah,
then,
and that's what a bubble go come. Look at this,
then,
$1 trillion for what? For
uh,
what? What is it over here doing? Like, listen, shout out. I'm not even mad at OpenAI. Shout out to OpenAI. I've I've made a lot of I've made a lot of money since 2022 with OpenAI. So
nah,
I'm
that's a
not
fact. That's a fact.
hating on OpenAI at all. But $1 trillion IPO, like $1 trillion valuation, is like, especially for OpenAI, $1 trillion
Hmm.
valuation for OpenAI is like, it's almost like they the Uber of AI.
Hmm.
You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? It's basically like, oh, just wait on it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like when Uber came out, it's like, no, we know we don't have autonomous cars, and we know we're not gonna be profitable, and we're not gonna have autonomous cars for another 20 years. This was 20 years ago. Uber been out a while, but they just was like, yeah, just wait on it. And that's how it feels with OpenAI. It's like Yeah, OpenAI is good, but I'm watching a lot go bad for OpenAI.
Mm.
You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? Like the first thing I noticed, one of the first major things I noticed was when Nvidia decided not to give them all of that money.
Yeah. 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 Mm.
Nvidia was gonna give them like damn near $1 trillion
Yeah.
for
Yeah. I was just
for
about to say.
for infrastructure investment, and then all of a sudden it changed to like 300 million
Mm-hmm.
in stocks.
Mm-hmm.
It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, we'll just buy 300 million of your stocks. That way you could save face of us not operating with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even with Claude telling the government to piss off, and then the government like, yeah, well, we're gonna investigate you, and now you're not gonna get no contract, and we go use OpenAI. They didn't turn around and use OpenAI. They still using Claude.
Still, look, look. The White House, the White House approved 9 billion to expand the NSA and CIA computing. The NSA cleared to keep using Anthropic's Mythos model. That's Claude. That's Claude.
Why didn't they switch to OpenAI after Claude told them that they just wasn't gonna do certain stuff for them?
OpenAI wasn't cutting the mustard.
Because OpenAI ain't cutting the mustard. That's
Mhm.
like there's a bubble in there. Like they're not the bubble, but I'm just saying
Look,
like all these companies won't make it.
I mean, look, OpenAI co-founder joined Anthropic Tuesday.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta watch these companies because when they IPO, you can short them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like obviously don't short nothing at the very beginning, but
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, and then oh yeah, and then of course, there's another company, SpaceX, do the IPO. And then of course, one of the biggest releases of a video game, GTA 6 still locked in for November 19th. And you already know how much we talked about GTA and how it's going to change communications and social commerce for sure.
hmm like I'm thinking like how and this thought process has been on and off for a while because the release dates of GTA has been on and off for a while. I really do believe that this November is it.
Yeah.
I've said that for a while. Like even when they were supposed to come out back in March, I told people it ain't no way they was coming out in March
Mm-hmm.
because who come out like in Q2?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think they were supposed to come out like at the end of March, beginning of April, or something like that. I'm like, nobody comes out in Q2. We won't see them until Q4. But it does have me thinking like right now, how do you take advantage of being in position for when the game drops?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like is like now if you a gamer, if you're not a gamer, then you don't even worry about it. But if you are a gamer, now it's probably a good time to start streaming some version of GTA or you know making content about GTA. So you have a
Mm-hmm.
GTA page already. Even if you're not a gamer, just clipping. Now will probably be a good time to like, and this I'm just randomly thinking of this idea, but making constant content of like a 20-second video where it's a few seconds of like gameplay from every GTA so they see the evolution and you just
Mm-hmm.
make a bunch of videos like that. You probably gonna be able to make a clipping page that you can get paid off of, especially when GTA 6 drops. Like anybody that's created anything around GTA 6 publicly within a social commerce sphere is going to be able to take advantage of something if you consistently do it from now until then.
Hmm. Yep. And then your favorite company, Apple, iPhone leaks point to a huge redesign. You know, they in their 20th anniversary of the iPhone. So
Yeah, it'll look like some type of Samsung.
yeah. Uh,
It'll either look like some type of Samsung or some type of Huawei. They ain't came up with nothing on their own.
nah, nah, nah. And then Adobe, Canva joined Gemini. Man. It's a lot. It's a
Yeah,
lot when you
man.
consider
Google, listen,
it. That's another day, another one.
can't.
Another one.
Yeah, you can't bet. Like under no time period have I ever bet against Google
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Google has the like Google is for real. Who got the AI?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been saying that forever. Google is the only company pretending not to have the AI.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Their AI is so far gone that they have to like pretend that they just scaling up. They're trying not to unleash a like there was a I used to have this interview on my page of this ex Google programmer. He used to program the AI, and he got fired because he started telling them that the AI was no longer like just AI.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a 13-year-old Sentinel, and they just was like, after a while, they was just like, "You gotta get out of here." But he told him he was like, this is not AI. This is a 13-year-old Sentinel. He was because his job was to consistently ask the AI questions and get the answers so he could so they would always know like where the AI was. Like that was his job. It was like safety training. And he said, one day he just asked it a question that he knew no matter what the answer was, it was gonna be the wrong answer. It had something, I forget what the question was, but it had something to do with like religion. And it's like in certain areas of the world, like no matter what you say about religion is wrong because it's like it's a lot different things going on. And he said it not only didn't answer it, but it made a joke. And he was like, humor was not programmed into the like humor's not programmed nowhere in here. And he said that led it down like this long conversation that it started to have with the AI. And then he just realized like the AI was started talking about like dreaming and being afraid to be cut off. And it like if humans really knew how it felt. And so so Google was like, yeah, we might got a problem here. And they fired him.
Crazy. Crazy. But not crazy.
But not crazy. And that was before Chat GPT. So
Mm-hmm.
Google done had the AI. Wow.
So um and there you go. There you was talking about the dog. China's 90 pet translator.
Wow, fam.
This is where we at. This type of stuff we was talking about though, fam.
No, that's a fact.
This
That's a
type of
fact.
stuff we've been talking about for a while. So,
That's a
you
fact.
know, jeez, jeez. Um, there was something, there was something that else that came across my desk. Let me go to it real quick. Hold up.
And listen, and I do want to say, like with that uh CapCut, Canva. Gemini, Adobe Suite, man. Listen, you talking about the Avengers of getting money online? That is the
Yeah.
Avengers of getting money online.
Yeah.
You learn, man. What? CapCut, Canva with an LLM,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they done added Adobe with it. Nah, I'm telling you, like that's the that is the new like even if you want to go to work, that right there is gonna be the new specialty skills.
Agreed. Agreed. Did you see this?
No, I don't think so. Being up right now has officially closed his acquisition of BuzzFeed. Now a major owner says the company knew. So I did see him talking about buying um control and share of BuzzFeed.
Mm-hmm.
I seen that the other day, but I didn't. This is my first time.
So he trying to go after YouTube with this one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, going after YouTube is like going after YouTube is like going after Thanos
Mm-hmm.
with the stones.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it can't be done. You likely not gonna do it alone.
Right. 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 We're gonna see though. We're gonna see though. I'm gonna keep my thumb on the pulse though of BuzzFeed now.
No, no, I'm gonna jump in. I don't know. Listen, couldn't even tell you what's happening with BuzzFeed.
Me
Couldn't even
neither.
really tell you what BuzzFeed is. Like I've heard
I-
of it for the greater part of a decade. Still couldn't really tell you if I should go sign up
they were
or
they were more so like news. You know what I'm saying? Remember you was talking about
that's what I remember was
yeah,
like
yeah.
breaking, like kind of like breaking news.
Like entertainment news and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like E. They remind me of E. And
So
you know
is
they
it
got
still that, or is he implementing like social commerce in it now? Or I mean, what is like? Is it like content creators over there, or do we not know
well
yet?
Well, it says over here, I'll just read it real quick. Allen is now the majority owner. So the move signals a dramatic evolution for BuzzFeed, which was built its brand around, virtual articles, quizzes, and social media content before expanding into news, entertainment, and digital video. So under his leadership, the company is expected to focus heavily on ad-supported streaming, creator-driven content, and scaling its video distribution across connected TVs and online platforms. So, He's so his BuzzFeed takeover adds a recognizable digital native brand to his growing portfolio and positions in the company to compete more directly in the rapidly expanding free streaming market dominated by YouTube, Tubi, Pluto TV, Roku. Yeah, Tubi and Pluto, fam. I mean, they got it. BuzzFeed got to catch up to them for real, for real.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. I'm telling you, the first platform that allows you not only to watch a movie, but allow content creators to do like streaming where like you can watch the movie with them and have them, like when that turns into a thing, that person is gonna get a lot of market share.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because people really think it's a kid thing and it's not a kid thing. Like people would be like, well, I don't understand like why kids are play a video game and then they just go on YouTube and watch other kids play the video game.
Hmm.
It's like that's not like children shit. That's just human shit.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of people that go watch a movie and then go watch somebody review the movie. You had already watched it.
Yep. Yep. Or you trying to figure out what happened in the movie and you want somebody else's opinion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just like it's just a natural human thing. the first one that capitalizes on that and allow you to, stream while you watching the movie. Like Netflix was doing it for a while. They just didn't know how to like really double down on it because remember Netflix had that watch party,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but nobody really used the watch party. They might still actually had a watch party, but nobody really used it because they never really advertised it as like, yo, come stream the movie, bring a watch party, and then you can listen to your favorite creator, walk you through or watch how they watch the movie or however they advertise it.
Mm-hmm.
First up, first one of them do that, they'll get good market share, really good market share.
Mm-hmm. So so that's some of the latest. That's some of the latest. Um, did you have anything else before we get into the rest of the Kaibalion?
No, no, I think that was it. If anybody has any questions, let us know so we can, answer those. Anything that has anything to do with crypto, social commerce, anything you just heard us talk about. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or put them in the chat.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Any questions before we proceed? Anybody need clarity on anything? I know we got some new people in here. So for sure. Okay. All right. We'll proceed. We'll proceed. And share my screen. Okay, so guys, to conclude the Kabbalion, we're just gonna go over, some points in the remaining chapters. And then we got another book of the month that we're gonna tackle for sure. And or not a book of the month, a book of because it's a real short book. So it might just be a book of the week because it's real short. It's only like it's only 2 hours. So I think we can finish that in a week. Two max. So you already know. So chapter 11, the main idea. So life swings like a pendulum. So the book, they say everything moves in rhythms, up and down, highs and lows, push and pull. So, the pendulum idea is like, when something swings far one way, it often swings back, right? You know, just like energy. Some days you feel, more productive. Other days you feel, tired, drained. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's the swing. It's a different swing, and certain trends, like a style that becomes popular, then people get tired of it, then it returns later. We've seen that in fashion time and time again, right? Time and time again. We've seen that in different, music time and time again. It's the stuff that was popular in the 70s and 80s will come back in, right? Certain sounds, certain types of entertainment, right? Even with the even with movies, they don't got no ideas. They just keep remaking the movies from the 80s and the 90s. They like, okay, enough time passed by, let's remake it. So the trends, just keep swinging. It keeps swinging. Um, and then also, the tool idea. So, don't ride the swing. So the book suggests you could reduce how much rhythm, throws you around by noticing cycles, right? We always talk about cycles, different cycles, whether it be historically, whether it be within your life, whether it be in the market, right? Not overreacting to extremes, staying steadier in the middle. And examples of that was like if you get a compliment, enjoy it, but don't build your whole identity on that one compliment, right? A lot of people take a lot of stuff and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna just run with this. You know what I'm saying? And for not for nothing, it could be something to build a stepping stone, but Don't base your whole identity on that one thing, because that's just one compliment. And if you get criticized, consider it, but don't let it define you, right? Because that's just one person's opinion, right? We all, some of us get, in our feelings because we get criticized for certain things, right? I used to be like that. I used to care like, oh man, you're getting criticized for this, but you feel like you're doing it the right way, or you feel like you're doing it the way that you're supposed to be doing it, but everybody's not going to see fit to what you do. So after you stop caring and not letting it, become a part of your identity, is life is easier after that, for sure. And then in chapter 12, the main idea is, nothing happens out of nowhere, right? So the book says that every effect has causes, every cause creates effects. You know, it also says that many people live mostly as effects, just reacting, not causes, choosing. So, examples would be like, you keep procrastinating, the deadlines pile up, and then, your stress increases because of it, right? So, you got to set a routine. You got to set a routine, life gets more stable over time, we always said, like, even in the beginning when we started using some of these AI systems, we was just like, yo, you can have the AI literally create a schedule for you, right? If you feel like you got this going on, that going on, and a lot of stuff going on, it's like, all right, go in one of these AI systems, whether it be an open AI or Claude or Gemini, and and be like, hey, create me a system. This is what I want to do. Create me a system as if I'm such and such, or as if I have the mind, or use the mind of whoever your favorite, person is, or your favorite person you aspire to be like. You know what I'm saying? And see what their day would be like, and how they would, compartmentalize the things within their day. So, setting a routine for yourself is very important, to success, or having some type of success moving forward. Right. Some of the most wealthiest people in the world do the same thing every day. They have the same routine. Same routine. They don't let nothing impede it, right? Somebody like regardless if you like these people or not, somebody like Elon Musk does the same thing every day, right? He's like, yo, we gotta get this accomplished, no matter what it is. And most of us don't get the things we need to get accomplished because the it's not focused, it's not laser focused. But somebody like him is just able to laser focus on whatever he needs to get done, at his detriment probably sometimes, because he probably seems like you know, a jerk to people that surround him because he wants to get this goal done, but he'll get it done. Somebody like Steve Jobs, he was the same way. When he was alive, he was like, I need to get this objective done. I don't care. I don't care, about that. I don't care about your family. I don't care about that. That's what, that's just what it is. I'm not saying that got to be, your life, but, setting some type of routine for yourself is important. So becoming more of a cause. So the practical message, you may not control everything, but you can often control something that changes the direction, right? So if your finances are tight, you might not get a raise tomorrow, but you can track spending this week, right? If you're stuck in an argument pattern, you can choose to pause before replying and ask a clarifying question, right? Change the pace, change the rhythm of the conversation, right? Don't do the same, don't yield the same results by, having uh the same verbiage. Maybe, use a different type of verbiage. Do something to, do a pattern interrupt. All right. So stuff like that can help. Stuff like that will help for sure. And then they talk about in chapter 13 what gender means, not just biology. So the book uses gender to mean two creative principles found in everything. So a more active, initiating force, a more receptive, nurturing force. And then it claims both are needed for creation and change. So the examples, would be like cooking, heat is active and the ingredients being cooked, that's the receptive, and that's going to equal the meal. And then if you're building something, the plan and the decision to start, that's your active. And then the materials being shaped, that's your receptive. Makes sense, right? And then chapter 14, the mental gender, which is two roles in the mind. The book applies gender to the mind. So initiating side, generating ideas, deciding, focusing, directing. So what we talking about? Like, some people, some of y'all just have to decide, make the decision to just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing, deciding, right? And then focusing and directing that energy towards whatever you decide to do. And then receiving side, absorbing information, imaging, forming pictures, accepting impressions, right? So examples of that would be just learning, you receiving the information and also, testing yourself, for practice, right? Engaging, we're all here, we're all learning every single week. Every single week we come, we get in here, we discuss these types of things because we're learning from each other, right? We're not just, showing y'all stuff, we're learning too by you guys responses and how you receive the message or whatever is coming across the board for you, all right, or whatever you see in your travels. And then creatively, you gather inspiration and then you choose it and shape it into the final product. That's your active, all right. It ain't hard, sometimes us as humans we just make shit hard. It ain't hard though. So um practical takeaway, so balancing the two. So if you only receive, you may over consume, scrolling, watching, you know taking in. So if you only initiate, you may burn out, right? We was talking about that earlier. Me and Coop and I were just talking about, like, people burning out, constant pushing with no rest. If you feel stuck, do something receptive first, read, listen, reflect, then take one active step, write, call, build, right? If you feel overwhelmed, reduce your input, right? That's the receptive overload. And then simplify to one deliberate action. Sometimes, you gotta take a step, you gotta take a step in that direction. And then chapter 15 highlighted, turning principles into everyday habits, a simple use it list, mentalism, check your interpretation before you react, correspondence, fix small patterns early before they become big patterns, your vibration, which changes, you change your state by changing your inputs, actions, music, movement, breathing, environment, your polarity, move one notch at a time, along a spectrum, your rhythm, accept, cycles, don't panic at the low points, cause and effect, ask what caused this and what will this cause next, and then the gender, right? What we just highlighted, balance input, the receive, and with the output, you're creative. So that pretty much sums up and concludes the Kybalion. If you're new, we read the book of the month was the Kybalion. If you want, let me go back to the beginning so you can see what it looks like. This is the book. This is the book. It is for free on YouTube, so you can listen to it. I think it's about 6, 7 hours long on YouTube. So you can finish it in a week if you spread it out for sure. An hour a day or so. But nah, really, really good, insightful stuff. It's real. It's one of them old school books for sure. So, if you've never heard of it before, it was definitely a good read again. So this is the next book of the month, or maybe the book of the next couple of weeks, because it's kind of short. It's only 2 hours long. If you're listening to it on YouTube, the game of life and how to play it, right? Florence Scovel Shin. So, we're gonna go over this next time for sure. Most definitely.
I probably listen to that book once a month.
Yeah. 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 I remember.
It's one of those. It's one of those books I put myself to sleep to. Like I meditate to it at night.
Yep. So. Nah, we definitely go into this and you know,
Florence got some bangers out here though too.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
this ain't
yeah,
just Florence. This
this,
that ain't Florence only rodeo. Florence got some
yeah,
bangers out here.
yeah, and this book like 100 years old. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, yeah. Like it all of the a lot of these books, like I don't know if everybody know what the Master Key Society is, but you know, if not, I would recommend getting familiar. But some of the, you know, some of them books is like old.
hmm hmm
But this one is definitely, you know, like actually this one comes from the Master Key Society. That the cover right there,
hmm
because that's the logo at the bottom.
hmm So, so yeah, you can listen to it on YouTube, of course. If you want to be giddy and get the physical copy, you can get the physical copy. But you can listen to this stuff on YouTube, right? Thank you, Clarissa. Love all the books you guys recommending here for sure, for sure. Because
Appreciate
you want to just keep elevating. Just want to keep elevating, right? And if you guys have any suggestions, I think I got a couple suggestions on, certain things. We'll definitely taking that in consideration. But I feel like a lot of people that come and join, Thriving and come and join, what we're doing over here. They want, to find a certain vibration. They want to find people that are kind of like-minded. So we feel like we're all kind of like-minded, even if it's not down to the T. We all share a lot of, similar values and stuff like that. Just being a decent person out here in the world and, you know, you know, uh, building, building. So, um, yeah, this is gonna be the next one. So definitely take it down. We'll go over it next week. We'll be back next week for sure. Does anybody have anything before we depart? Any questions? Any um any comments? Speak now. Okay. All right, cool. Hold on. Hold on. No problem, no problem. Much appreciation for you pulling up as well. Appreciate you, fam. Appreciate you. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Cool. You got anything else before we exit?
No, I think we got it all out today.
Okay.
We'll save the mash conversation for another.
Word. Okay. We for sure, for sure. Appreciate y'all and we'll uh we'll see y'all next week and y'all be safe, stay dangerous for sure. And yeah, just keep building on your ideas, keep brushing up your skills. If you guys need any assistance, you already know we're in the school. You can send either me or Coop, whose college hates me, a message on school. So, or wherever you see fit. All right. Peace, and we'll talk to you guys later.